7-day reading plan for Week 4. Day 1. The 5 kinds of tears. Overview. Passage 1. Day 2. Imperfect tears. Where we begin. Passage 2. Day 3. Perfect tears. Where we are going. Passage 3. Day 4. Love of neighbor as proof of love of God. Passage 4. Day 5. Virtue born through the neighbor. Passage 5. Day 6. Reread the passage that moved you most. Your choice. Day 7. Perform one hidden act of service and offer it to God. Weekly challenge.
Week 4 reading passages. The Dialogue of St. Catherine of Siena. Treatise on Discretion. The 5 kinds of tears and love of neighbor. Source: The Dialogue of St. Catherine of Siena, translated by Algar Thorold. Public domain, available at CCEL. Introduction to this week's reading. Week 4 takes us deeper into the Treatise on Discretion, where God reveals to Catherine one of the most tender and psychologically insightful teachings in all of the dialogue: the 5 kinds of tears. These are not simply descriptions of crying. They are a map of the soul's journey from fear and self-love toward perfect union with God. As you read, ask yourself, where am I on this journey? Then notice how God connects the soul's inner growth directly to love of neighbor. The two cannot be separated.
Passage 1. The 5 kinds of tears. An overview. O beloved and dearest daughter, you beg knowledge of the reasons and fruits of tears. Open well the eye of your intellect, and I will show you. The first are the tears of damnation. The former are those of fear, and belong to men who abandon sin from fear of punishment and weep for fear. The third are the tears of those who, having abandoned sin, are beginning to serve and taste me, and weep for very sweetness. But since their love is imperfect, so also is their weeping. The fourth are the tears of those who have arrived at the perfect love of their neighbor, loving me without any regard whatsoever for themselves. These weep, and their weeping is perfect. The fifth are joined to the fourth, and are tears of sweetness, let fall with great peace. The Dialogue. Treatise on Discretion. What God is saying here: the 5 kinds of tears are stages of spiritual growth, not just emotional states. They move from the lowest, tears born of fear of punishment, through growing love and self-knowledge, all the way to the highest, tears of perfect union with God, shed in deep peace. Most of us will recognize ourselves somewhere in the middle stages, and that is exactly where God wants us to begin. Reflection prompt. Which stage of tears feels most familiar to you right now? Are you weeping from fear, from beginning love, from love of neighbor, or from deep union? Be honest, there is no wrong answer. Passage 2. Imperfect tears. The starting point. She begins to weep with a tender and compassionate sorrow, pitying herself with the spiritual compassion of self-love, for her self-will is not yet crushed and destroyed in everything, and in this way she lets fall sensual tears, tears, that is, of spiritual passion. The Dialogue. Treatise on Discretion. What God is saying here: the imperfect tears, the early stages, are not bad. They are the beginning of the journey. God does not despise the soul who weeps from self-pity or spiritual immaturity. He simply invites her to keep growing. The key phrase is, her self-will is not yet crushed. This is the work of a lifetime, not a single moment of conversion. Reflection prompt. Can you recall a moment of spiritual emotion, perhaps at Mass, in prayer, or during a retreat, that felt very real, but may have been more about your own comfort than about God? What does it mean to grow beyond that?
Passage 3. Perfect tears.
the gift of union. Then she reposes in me, the sea Pacific, and her heart is united to me in love. When she thus feels me, the eternal deity, her eyes let fall tears of sweetness, tears indeed of milk, nourishing the soul in true patience. An odoriferous ointment are these tears, shedding odors of great sweetness. The dialogue, treatise on discretion. What God is saying here: the highest tears, the tears of milk, are not tears of sorrow at all. They are tears of profound peace and sweetness, shed when the soul rests in God, like a child resting in its mother's arms. This is the goal of the entire spiritual journey, not just to stop sinning, but to arrive at a place of deep, restful love. The image of the sea Pacific is one of Catherine's most beautiful, God as a vast, calm ocean in which the soul finally finds rest. Reflection prompt. Have you ever experienced a moment of deep spiritual peace, a sense of all is well in God's presence? How did it feel? How can you cultivate more of those moments?
Passage 4. Love of neighbor as proof of love of God. So far as the soul loves me, she loves her neighbor, because love towards him issues from me. This is the means which I have given you, that you may exercise and prove your virtue therewith. Because inasmuch as you can do me no profit, you should do it to your neighbor. This proves that you possess me by grace in your soul, producing much fruit for your neighbor. The dialogue, treatise on discretion. What God is saying here, this is one of the most direct statements in all of the dialogue. You cannot truly love God without loving your neighbor. And the reverse is equally true. Your love for your neighbor is the proof that your love for God is real. God does not need our service, but our neighbor does. So God redirects our love for him outward, into the world. Reflection prompt. Who in your life right now is God calling you to serve? Is there someone whose needs you have been noticing, but not yet responding to? Passage 5. Virtue must be born through the neighbor. Perfect virtue cannot exist and give fruit except by means of the neighbor. If she do not produce the child of virtue in the love of her neighbor, showing her child to him who is in need, both in general and in particular, she has not conceived virtue at all. The dialogue, treatise on discretion. What God is saying here, inner spiritual growth that never reaches the neighbor is incomplete, like a pregnancy that never results in a birth. God uses the beautiful image of the soul as a mother. The virtues conceived in prayer must be born in acts of love and service. This is not about grand gestures. It is about the small, daily choices to give, to forgive, to encourage, to serve. Reflection prompt. What hidden act of service could you offer someone this week? Something so small and quiet that only God would know you did it.
Day 6. Reread the passage that moved you most. Your choice. Day 7. Perform one hidden act of service and offer it to God. Weekly challenge.